Well, hello everybody. I was looking through the comments on my first blog, and there was a comment by 101 Palali Euro um, that that left a YouTube channel that had a 12-minute essay on basically on modernism, and it was very informative, and it had a lot to do with 3D printing and advances in medicine and advances in technology and so forth, and many of the things I talked about earlier. And it was by a bunch of academics, and the probability of this coming to be is very small because even though these ivory tower eggheads uh, are super intelligent, they have no way of disseminating this down to the common man. Now, several of the problems that they're going to reach on healthcare, we've got tremendous advances in fighting cancer and in fighting heart disease, and we can, through dietary habits and stuff, we can almost prevent a lot of heart disease, and we can prevent colon cancer and a bunch of other cancers. Uh, Colon cancer now is one of the leading killers, but it's with a colostomy, it's the most easily prevented. You know, you get one every 10 years from 50 on, and then every 5 years, maybe from 60 to 65, and you can literally prevent it. I've been colostomized several times, and each time they found polyps, and each time had I not gone, I would have contracted colon cancer. But now I am free because all the polyps were removed. But that's not the direction I really wanted to head in this blog. One of the problems with longevity, well, one of the overreaching problems is of course the Malthusian theory that food production will never keep up with population production, and the places that need the most food are the ones least likely to have it. Uh, uh, we talk about sub-Saharan Africa and many of the countries like Ethiopia. Every couple of years we can expect a famine that's going to kill hundreds of thousands of people and perhaps millions of people. And just to bring American corn in isn't the answer because there's a limit to American corn, American wheat, and any other crop that any country can produce in surplus, or whether it be rice or whatever, because there's always more mouths to feed than the Green Revolution will allow productivity to increase by. But another problem is that all these societies, you take Japan, that has one of the longest longevities. You take any of the industrialized countries, that healthcare is becoming more and more expensive. Those with a great deal of money are going to live a very long time. Those in poor countries, many of which still die at birth, aren't going to live that long. But those countries are countries that are the most fecundant, and that you take a great deal of Africa, the average age is 14 or 15, and in a couple of years they're all going to be reproducing, and it might even bring the age down more. But it'll, even with disease and all, it's still going to make the population much greater. And add to that that the better uh, medical care we get for the elderly, the more elderly we're going to have. Now, this is going to do a little bit for our job creation because those people have to be taken care of. But how are we going to afford to take care of them? That's another problem. Besides the fact that only the super rich are going to be able to afford the medical care that is necessary to maintain them or to even make them feel better than they have been. We nevertheless run into this problem that there's inequality in medical care is one of the great problems of the world. And as long as this country is stuck on the notion, and thanks only because of the fact that the pharmaceutical and the medical companies are capable of paying lobbyists and paying senators and everyone else and the congressmen millions of dollars, that that we will never have a one-payer system. There are societies, take Taiwan, that they pay 7% of their gross domestic product in healthcare. We pay 17%. The closest one to us only pays about 12%. Now, how can that be when we have 45 million people have no health care at all? We have a great number of veterans have little or no health care. We are a sick society, and the rich are fairly healthy, and the rest of us are marginal. Now, the only way of taking care of this is to have a one-payer system. Now, you go in a doctor's office today, and you're going to find at least 3 or 4 people behind the counter. Well, you know what most of those people do? Most of those people are dealing with insurance companies. They're not dealing with your health care. They're dealing with trying to get paid, you know. And you go into fact, doctors, yeah, I slipped and went 2 sentences ahead. You go into a doctor's office today, and it used to be that the doctor and patient had a relationship. Now they're patient factories. The doctor gets, we'll say 67, 70 bucks, I don't know what, per head for Medicare patients. So his goal is to move them through there as fast as possible. Just recently I went to a doctor that I've been playing tennis with 15, 18 years ago, and played tennis with him for 10, 12 years. And he's been my primary physician. And it's nice that I have the ability to call him at home or whatever. But I went into his office. I've been feeling terrible. I was feeling terrible. And they looked me over and said, if everything's fine, come back in 4 or 5 months. 2 days later, I went to a clinic, and they said that I had pneumonia. If I'd have waited one more day, I'd have to have been hospitalized. So it's just the idea: get them in, get them out, and that's the problem. Now in Taiwan, the medical cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to go through medical school. In Taiwan, the government pays to put the people through medical school, but then the graduates have to go out to the boonies, out to the countryside for, I don't know, say 4 or 5 years, and give medical aid to those people there that need it. Like we have a mess of communities now. Yeah, there's so much money in the big cities, a lot of communities are almost doctorless. And something else they do is they do away with malpractice insurance. Now, some surgeons pay hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in malpractice insurance. Now, a good many of them, they're damn well good that they have it because they're terrible surgeons. And in this country, they are judged by peers, their own peers, so that no doctor wants to throw another doctor out of his ability to make a living. So hardly anybody gets suspended. Whereas in Taiwan, it's an oversight, and they look into your record, not into whether or not you're a chum of theirs or whatever, and they'll pluck your license in no time at all. So they also have the ability to deal with the pharmaceutical companies, and they look at the pharmaceutical companies' books and they determine what a decent amount of profit would be, and that's the price that they pay for drugs, like in Canada. But you talk about one payer, and oh man, everybody except maybe Bernie Sanders just shrivels up and dies because they can't do without that political money. So we've got a conundrum here that those in poor countries are never going to be able to afford the medicine that's going to keep them, that's going to truly extend their longevity, even though they're reproducing at such a clip that's going to have probably little effect on the total outcome. But and societies like our own, I've seen generic drugs that I take triple in price, go up 300% in a year. And generic drugs are drugs whose licenses have expired, and some other company or the same company produces them at a reduced rate. Now those drugs, the research and development has all been paid for. Now when they say I had one drug that with my drug insurance always cost me $7, now it costs me 28 bucks. All right. Now, I don't know what the insurance company is paying, but the drug company itself is the one that instituted the rise in the price of the drug. The research and development for that drug was paid for 20 years ago, but they have the ability, because of our Congress lets them, to continue to just kick ass any price they want. So that we have to have some totally independent politician. And I hate to say we've got somebody like Donald Trump that funds himself. If if if, if Bernie Sanders had the money Trump did, oh, I'd feel very good about it. But he's even though he's not having too much trouble raising funds to continue, uh, no one will ever allow the political hacks, the bigwigs and both the Democratic and Republican Party will never allow a socialist to be elected. And if he was elected, how could he how could he ever begin to deal with a Congress that's bought and sold? So one of our problems we have to worry about is health care. And Obamacare to me is a total disaster because the copays and all can be horrendous. So if anybody has any suggestions, if not, then we all should move to Taiwan.